And for more on the anticipated unrest in Minneapolis, we're pleased to welcome Bill Pepitone, a former NYPD police officer. He's also running for mayor of New York City. Bill, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it. You know, we saw some unrest already underway again in Minneapolis without knowing a verdict. A church did catch fire overnight in Minneapolis. The cause, however, is under investigation. But as Logan had been reporting, protesters are gathering. National Guard's troops have been called in. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I think it's all going to come down to leadership, leadership from elected officials. The police are preparing. They've been preparing for quite a while. Preparation is always multi-pronged between intelligence and training and execution and the maximization of personnel. But really, it's going to come down to leadership. Are our elected officials going to stand up and stop the violence the way they did not a year ago? If they're willing to do that and allow the police to do their jobs, peaceful protest can go on. It's what our country was built on, but violence has to be stopped immediately.
Yeah. Shutting down, again, those riots, allowing for peaceful protesting to happen. Very different, but so important when you're looking for leadership. And speaking of, let's listen to what the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, had to say about the trial just yesterday. Here's that.
Regardless of the outcome of this trial, regardless of the decision made by the jury, there is one true reality, which is that George Floyd was killed at the hands of police.
Now, of course, the defense's entire argument argues against that there, and that's what the jury is deliberating, of course, the verdict in the trial here. But when you hear rhetoric like that being said by the city's mayor, how does that impact people who are listening, impact those who are gathering there and protesting as well?
Well, it has a tremendous impact. It's incendiary language. Our elected officials continue with their reckless rhetoric. We heard what Maxine Waters said the other day about if they don't get the verdict that they want, that they're going to stay in the street and become more confrontational. You're just throwing gasoline on a fire. It's irresponsible. And we need to let the justice system work. We need to let it play out, let the jury make their decision and go forth. Trust in the judicial system. When we have elected officials, like the mayor there, say things like that, he's just adding to the problems. He's creating the potential for more violence. And in reality, he's endangering his own constituents. It's just reckless.
Yeah, you of course worry about the community members, those who live in the area who could be impacted by protests turned violent. Of course, you hope that's not the case. But what's interesting, too, is other cities across the country are preparing for this possibility here. Reports of the Illinois governor deploying 125 National Guard's troops to the Chicago area, this ahead of the verdict as well. Do you anticipate more cities following this plan and sending more troops in anticipation of things turning violent?
I do, and I hope the response is much better than last summer. I hope it's swifter. I hope it's a stronger response. It has to be to protect civilians, protect police officers, and protect law enforcement. Last year, they allowed it to go on too long, and they allowed too much violence. Here in New York City, the response has always been multi-pronged as far as preparation. It's about intelligence, gathering intelligence. It's about maximizing personnel. We've seen police officers have their days off canceled and have their shifts extended to 12 hours. It's about preparation as far as drills, mock response drills. All of that all goes together and all plays together. But again, none of this matters unless we get strong leadership in every city and every state.
Yeah, talk to me about New York City specifically as well, what you might anticipate coming as the verdict comes in. We don't know exactly how long it will take the jury to deliberate. Perhaps by the end of this week there would be a verdict made known. But are there people who might take advantage of a situation here where protests turn unruly here? Would NYPD officers look for those sort of people to make sure that things don't turn violent or destructive?
Oh, absolutely. That's all about disorder control preparation. Again, it starts with intelligence, monitoring social media, looking for potential hotspots and locations where violence is being promoted. The NYPD does an incredible job with their intelligence division. There's always going to be people and opportunists and anarchists within a peaceful group that are going to try and take advantage of a situation like this. And it's not about George Floyd. It's not about police brutality. It's about being opportunists. It's about violence. It's about creating anarchy in our streets. And again, I know the police department here in the city of New York is always prepared. As long as they have leadership from City Hall, they can shut it down. They can stop the violence, allow the peaceful protesters to go on. They have every right to do such, but they can take out those that are creating violence and hurting people and hurting our city. They can do it, if they have the leadership.
Yeah, and Bill, you're talking about the current members of the NYPD, of course, again, if they've got the leadership for it. But I'm curious just about the next generation of police officers. Have you heard from people? Have you heard about potential recruits who are no longer interested in joining the force based on sort of the treatment we've seen police officers face in this past year?
Yes, I've heard from many police officers, many who are active, many who are thinking about becoming police officers. They're afraid. They're scared to become police officers in New York City, and that's a shame. New York City is one of the greatest police departments in the world, the largest police department in the world, tremendous history and tradition. And for people to have second thoughts about joining this organization is extremely, extremely scary and concerning. The NYPD right now has a recruitment problem. They're going to lose qualified candidates to other jurisdictions that actually support their police, and they have a retention problem. They're losing veteran police officers who are retiring early. Instead of staying a little bit longer and remaining with the police department, they're leaving. They're taking their pension and they're getting out of here as long as their pension is still secure. The diaphragm law here in New York City, the end of qualified immunity, which leaves police officers open to civil liability, even for doing their job and acting within the scope of their employment, it's turning new police officers away. It's driving more police officers into retirement. It's weakening the NYPD, and in turn, it weakens public safety here in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen a rise in violence and crime in the great city of New York. Yes. And of course, we're already facing many challenges here amid the pandemic. That's Bill Pepitone. He's running for mayor of New York City. Would offer some changes here. Bill, thanks so much. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Stay safe.
You too.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.